This DJNTV show is sponsored by DJ Event Planner, Electra Voice, DJ Trivia and DJ Bingo, ProX Direct, NLFX Pro, Promo Only, Odyssey Cases, Perfect Portals, JMOZ Lighting, Instant DJ Requests, and our DJNTV Insiders. This is John Young from DJNTV. Thanks for watching.
Good evening. Welcome. It is Monday night. It is the last Monday night of the month. And so what does that mean? We're going to ponder a few things.
Bills are due.
The meaning of life.
Today is Pancake Day.
Ooh.
Just throwing that out there.
Give your
What
favorite
color's
DJ
the best color to wear?
pancake.
What color's the best pancake to wear?
Yes.
If you give a mouse a pancake, will he ask for syrup also?
It's a pig a pancake. Moose is a muffin. And dog a
Pig-
donut.
Planet are you from?
The one where we have kids and have
Kids.
to read stories like that.
Kids' books. MJ, what's up with that? That's just not right.
What's the other thing today? Today is National Pancake Day and National Situational Awareness Day.
Okay, so before we start the question and answer night, we gotta tease a little bit of upcoming news. There are a upcoming speaker is on the horizon, which you guys are going to hear about in November. It's going to be released early November.
You're not talking about a person, correct?
No.
Yeah, I thought we were talking about a speaker like somebody
gonna have
coming in to
somebody
talk to
on.
all of us.
This is a speaker that for some this is one that they've been waiting for a long time. We'll talk more about that. And then there's going to be one coming in probably early 2024. That is a speaker that many of you and myself included have been waiting for an even longer time. It's one that had probably the most asked for speaker ever. Will be coming out in early 2024, maybe late 2023. But the first one is coming out in November. So right now it's to go find your couch, check those cushions, invite your friends over who have loose change, shake them a little bit during the football games. Work the couch money so you're ready to go for November.
So now I'm just curious.
Uh-huh.
Because
Yeah.
I know you can't reveal.
Yep.
So what I'm curious about is it the release date in November? Like, is that when do we know when in November we're getting the announcement?
Early November should be the announcement, and they should be ready to go before Christmas.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
thought he meant that the speaker was going to be announced in November and then we can get it in 2024.
There is that. It's possible. It's possible. So Robin's with us tonight, just before she gets a ton of rain and hurricane coming her way in a couple of days. We're thinking about you, Robin. So hopefully you ride through the storm safely.
No
Everything
flying
charged
kite.
up. I know you were talking about that.
Don't go out and fly any kites.
Yeah. Get that lawn mowed, though. I see that's the thing in your neighborhood, so get the lawn mowed. I don't know. She showed a picture, and there are people out there sweating and mowing lawn before the storm. So I guess I get that. You don't want to have tree branches down in the 3-inch grass. You want to get it down to that 1.5 inches.
Well, it probably makes it easier to clean up that way.
For sure.
And to find your lost pets. You don't have to listen for them making noise in the high grass. You can see them.
Fluffy, where are you? Where are you, Fluffy? Over there somewhere.
That's a really good one there.
I grew up on a farm. I've learned to talk animals, so you'd be surprised. You should hear my cow noises and horse noises and sheep.
Well,
Cats. I do a great cat. I do a cat to the point where cats talk back to me.
oh well, that's
People suck.
Mr.
Animal, I can't talk to people, but animal. No, I'm kidding.
You know which doctor talks to animals?
Doolittle.
Doolittle. There you go. Oh, man of many skills you are, MJ.
You get lots of skills when you don't have a social life. See, social life, you invested in people, you spend time with them, you go places. Me, I've learned to juggle. I can spin books on my hands, basketballs, all kinds of useless, pointless tricks.
And you can talk to animals, but you don't have any in your house.
No.
That's true.
If you've had to take care of animals on a farm where it's 112 degrees and you got your back up against a metal barn roof, stacking hay, or in 50 mile an hour sub-zero temperature out fixing fence, it's not as fun, you know.
And I can relate to both of those.
Trying to go out and get the
try to hit a steeple when it's freezing and your hands can't feel anything.
Yeah. Whap. That looks like my thumb, but it's a lot flatter than I remember it.
I didn't even feel it. Let's keep pounding.
This is great, man. Give me another.
I won't feel it for another hour.
This will be great. Don't let it warm up.
Hey, is this a show about DJs?
It is. Let's get on with our questions. We've got a lot of questions there, and some of the questions that we'll be going through are some that were given to us last time. So if you've got something you'd like us to touch on or hit, put that into the comment section. The best spot, though, is the comment section. I am going to put the link in the chats across all of our channels here.
We should have some sort of hashtag or something so we know that's a specific question towards us to answer.
They could go hashtag yo.
Whatever you want, John.
Yeah, I mean, would that be awesome?
No, as long as it's not hashtag or...
No.
That would be great. That would be epic.
No.
I didn't even think of such an epic thing. Oh my gosh, how did I miss that?
You know, as great as that particular artist may be, last night there was a nice little set that was done in the middle of the concert that I was at. He wasn't played. So if he was so great, how come he wasn't played?
Obviously, you went to the wrong concert. That must have been the concert, for the...
Or the right one, Dan. Hope John didn't hear me.
I didn't hear that.
All right, my disclaimer is a question that you kind of sort of answered. How many of these did you make up to sound stupid, and how many were just stupid questions?
These were literally everything that's here. I've reworded a couple to make it a little easier.
Wow.
But yeah, these are all legitimate questions that have come from people sending them in, which those were not the ones that sound stupid, by the way. Those are the most intelligent questions ever. Thank you. And then coming from a couple of Facebook groups is where I picked up some. So
I like the one question that was 20 questions.
Oh, yeah, there is. And that particular one, that was one I actually added because there's some areas that I wanted to make sure we hit on that. I think
longest run-on sentence ever.
Man, it's great. Okay, so I want to jump into there's a flashback one. I was thinking about we should start off with that one, but I wanted to maybe talk about the one about should I play my own remixes or drop in an original song, because I've actually heard this one from a few DJs over the years, but not recently until it was like a week or so ago. Someone had asked that, but it was a DJ who does some mixing on the side, which many do. I was actually surprised at how many people have done some remixing or mashups. And then they were like, I've got a couple of songs that are really, they felt were really good. And they're wondering, do they drop those at an event? So
technically, that was 3 questions, and here's my answers for the 3 questions. You can delve in with your own after I answer this. Yes, it depends anytime. So go ahead.
Okay. So that would be, should play the own remixes? Yes. If you make it a song, it depends. And what's the best time to do it? Anytime. Dan, what are your thoughts?
So I'm in agreement of the first one. Basically, I think the remixes, the redrums, those types of pieces, I think are perfectly acceptable in most every situation, whether it's private event or whether it is, you're playing out someplace. I think both of those have the ability for you to bring those pieces in, and a lot of DJs have, do a great job of creating remixes. So why not? I mean, even if you think about it, if you're doing any type of effects when you're playing, or if you are using hot cues to jump around in a song, in some ways you're making a different version, aka a remix of it. So to make an official one, produced ahead of time and then play that, I think it's perfectly acceptable. Their own song, I think it depends on the event. That's where, so I agree with you. It depends. I think that's where the key is. I personally would not be comfortable dropping a song like that at a wedding unless the couple in advance knew I was a performer on the side, a musical act performer on the side, and willing to bring that in.
What if your song was a love ballad that you played during dinner?
Same issue. I still would not be comfortable dropping that in kind of out of nowhere. But my viewpoint is it's not about me. It's not for my 15 minutes of fame or whatever you want to call. I'm willing to subject them to other people's favorites. Anyway, and then the last time, when is the best time? I think it depends on the type of song, right? So, if it is a love ballad and that you're taking, and if your view is that it's an okay place to put it obviously in the appropriate time. I would not put it peak hours for something that somebody's never heard before.
Yeah, don't play your thrash metal remake of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald during cocktail hour.
You never know. It could go over. Could be the great.
Save it for ceremony prelude.
I was kind of thinking about the original song part of it, because again, remixes, there's many people who do it, and they can drop those in because they design it for that specific purpose. But the original song, I thought about it almost when, going back when I used to play in the bar quite often, and it was, if there was a song that we were going to be trying, because we were playing at the time 5 nights a week. So there was a new song out there, and it's like, okay, this is pretty good, but I don't know if it's good enough for after 11 o'clock time frame, unless I needed to clear the floor. So it was one of those things that we'd play before people were on the dance floor and kind of judge crowd response. If you started to see people kind of, bebopping a little bit or reacting, then you might have something that could be moved into that final 2 hour. And I was kind of viewing it along the lines of that. The idea of it being a ballad or something and being during that cocktail time or something that would fit in that cocktail time might be a great spot to do it, because at times that's just throwaway time as far as, everyone's talking and doing their thing. So, I think depends, I guess, is really a good answer. So, okay, let's jump to our next question here. We'll put our little break in here. Okay, our next question. Somebody was talking about kickbacks to play, meaning that if I'm going to be playing in a venue and I book an event at a venue, or if I get a lead from someone, that they're expecting a kickback, a financial compensation for that. Some venues charge, I've heard, up to 5% or 10%. Kickback is what they're expecting if they're sending leads to you. Some have a flat fee. Some you have to be in our book to play in our venue. So there's a variety of different things. What are your guys' thoughts on the pay-to-play with a kickback type of a situation?
I saw this a little differently because I also included getting jobs, bar gigs from friends, or getting parties from friends.
Mm-hmm.
My answer to that was another question: am I paying a friend or a stranger for a gig?
Okay, so let's take that from two. Let's say in your situation, you're going to be paying a friend that is connected you, not the venue manager. And then we'll do another one where it would be the venue manager is like, hey, if you want to play here, I need $20, under the table.
Yeah. I have had those before. I've had many. There's still a company that does events where they bring in big name acts into the city that keep wanting me to be a part of the opening act, but I have to sell so many tickets and all these things, and I won't do those because I just don't want to do that. If it's a friend, a lot of times we'll do it if they're booking you a different place every single week. There's a chance you might give them a little something.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some DJs that do ask for money no matter what, but I'm just not that person.
Sure.
So I'm not going to pay you for getting me a gig, nor will I expect you to pay me for me getting you a gig. If you go and do a good job, you do a good job. If you do crap, that's on me. So I'm only going to put someone there. I'm not going to put them there to get money back. I'm going to put them there to do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
So it's way different than what you guys are when it comes with venues, but I'm just real hesitant on that because that can snowball to you owe me sort of thing, and I'm just not that person to be that. So,
what about managers? Let's the manager kickback thing. Have you handled that when you've had?
I've never had that.
Oh, you haven't had that? Okay.
Because like I said, I'm a person that just people know that I don't fuss.
So it wouldn't have.
I've been at this so long that I think just people know if I'm because I know places that will, but they'll ask a younger DJ who's desperate to get in there.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly.
I'm going to look at him and go, I don't need to be there.
Mm-hmm. In our situation,
like Jay-Z said about the Super Bowl, "You need me, I don't need you."
Yeah.
But that's egotistical. I just, like I said, it's just, to me, it's a dangerous road to go down because it can snowball really quickly and get ugly. So that's my only reason behind that.
Dan, wedding perspective, or from our mobile's perspective, what are you coming up with?
So we talked about this. I don't remember how long ago. It was a while back. And I used to have the philosophy of like, I felt it was so weird and I would never consider it because to me, it just feels like it's crossing a big line. I do have a problem with it when it's, it's that 5 or 10% or whatever it is. And I also have sometimes, kind of a feeling of distaste with it because it's like, okay, if I don't play, if I don't pay for it, would you still let me play there? So in other words, you didn't send me the lead. The couple went and they found me on their own and they hired me to come there. Do I still have to pay you to be able to play there? And if the answer is yes, then I have a major issue with that. However, paying or kicking back money for a lead is really no different than paying for advertising. If anything, it's more beneficial because when I drop money for, an ad, whether it be in a wedding magazine or whether it's a wedding show or anything like that, there's no guarantee I'm getting anything.
Right.
There's not even they may not even reach out to me or anything from it. But if I pay you for a lead or I give you a portion of the money that I get from the wedding that I got because of you, well, you just got me a job in essence. And so, while I don't know where I would stand and where the line is that I would draw and say, listen, I'm not playing that game. I do think that it has benefits because it's really just a different looking marketing.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And I think, John, you were the one who brought that up years ago and really changed my view on that because of that.
Yeah, I had a company here in the city that was they'll do, and it's funny, you're talking about all those low percents. A booking agent will take anywhere from 12 to 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one here that was doing 15. And I just said, I just don't want you to book me anymore, please. I just didn't want to deal with it.
Sure.
But we're getting you all these gigs. I'm like, they're not stuff that I really all that much want. I'm going to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, you have to, like Dan said, if it means something to you, it's hard to put a price on something that means something to you. So getting those, if it's worth that to you, go for it. Like my dad always used to say, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Is it worth that much? He goes, well, it depends on if it's worth that much to you. So.
John, is your view still kind of that same spot?
Very much so. And I like how you broke that down. If I've got to pay to play somewhere and they really don't have any skin in the game besides having a venue or the facility, yeah, I've got a little problem with that. But when they're referring or they're doing something and they have helped the process, no problem whatsoever because that's the best marketing money that I'm going to be investing for the year. But that the times where they pay to play, where it's like, oh, you're going to be playing in our venue next month. Did you know that we have a fee for DJs coming in? That one doesn't pass the smell test at all.
Yeah, and I will say, you talked about the friend thing. I'm not one to pay the DJ friends of mine who refer me, right? That's not something I really think. But I will say that the ones who refer me are listed first on the list that I send out when I'm booked. And the ones who I rarely get anything from or really can't trace anything where they've ever sent anything my way, but I know they do good work, are at the bottom of the list.
How about if you run into them out somewhere and you go, hey, let me buy you a drink for help me get that gig. Is that cool?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. See, that's the stuff I tend to do. I'll literally go to a DJ's place where he's DJing to thank him for a gig, and I'm like, hey, let me grab something for you, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, and that to me, I look at that more as a gratuity, not type of gratuity, but a thank you, right? Like a gift, without, and I realize the money can be that way too, but it's not expected, right? Mm-hmm. Like you meet up and you're like, listen, I got your next one, kind of the same thing. Or, I've done that, I've run into friends that, for anything, they've not done anything for me, but they're friends because they've done, we're friends. So yeah, picking something up, whether it's a drink or whether it's just, hey, I got the next round of golf. Let's go.
Yeah. We've done driving ranges that way too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's go hit the driving range.
Yeah, have some fun. All right, let's jump to our next question. All right, our next question tonight. Somebody was talking about taking requests at an event, and they were wondering if a person takes a request the same for all guests. So if you're going to be taking requests, do you accept and prioritize them all, in essence, the same, kind of more in a how they fit into your set? Or are there some people who get preferential treatment when it comes to their making of requests? And what would that differentiation factor be?
This is a dumb question. Who would have ever asked this stupid thing?
I can't remember who did, but it was out there. And
my answer to this, it's still going to be on your guys' side more because I think it's more tailored to the depth of the question is more tailored to what you guys do than me. My answer is cash is king. And again, in your world, that doesn't have anything necessarily to do with it. So I'm just going to let you guys run with it. So.
You disappointed me. I was totally expecting two different answers from you.
I didn't give either one of them?
You didn't give me either one.
Okay, so where did you expect me to go?
How hot is she?
Oh, that gets nothing from me because the pretty girls are a dime a dozen. That don't mean a thing.
Okay. And then the second one was, I don't take requests. That means they got to get close.
That's what I expected. They'd be like, yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Well, they get close anyways. It's just, it's why I like.
Maybe we should answer it for him next time, Dan.
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
Yes. So the next question you answer for me, Dan. Now, go ahead.
That means I get to pick the question too. So for me, yes, but not quite to what, I was joking about, obviously. For me, when somebody comes up and makes a request, if they've been on the floor having a good time that night, I'm going to push their song request up in where it's going to fit. Right, I'm gonna try and get to their selection or their piece and be able to mix it in a little bit faster because they've been on the floor. They've been basically putting the work in to have a good time. Yep. The second thing that's going to get their request sooner is basically going to be their manners. Right, you come up to me and you're like, you got to play this. No, but you come up to me and you're like, hey, I would really like to hear this song if you get a chance. Like I've actually had some people like, if you get a chance, this would be a cool song. I'd like to hear it. The whole it's going to pack the dance floor. That actually moves it down on my list. Yeah. Like
the word suggestion, the word suggestion over request will get my attention more. Take suggestions.
Or when you make a demand, but you call it a request. No, like that pushes it down on the list too. The other thing, I will say there is kind of a little asterisk I'll put next to the whole, like if you've been on the dance floor. If I've been noticing that you've been having a good time, but you just maybe haven't been really vibing with the music and you're asking for something that's in a slightly different direction, but still has good, like my gut says, yeah, that'd be good. I can work with that. And if for some reason it fails, I'll just be able to get out of it quick. Like I can start to put those pieces together. That's another one because sometimes I've noticed, I'm just guilty, and I'm sure there's others that are, you get in a rut of maybe certain styles or certain song selections that you keep using, not like event to event, but within that event, you kind of latch on to a certain style because you're getting a packed dance floor to like those styles. And you maybe go a little bit off of it, but you're afraid to go too far off. And then I'll have someone coming up and they'll ask for something that's a little bit farther out. Okay, you know what? I haven't really given you a chance to get on the floor yet. Hang with me. I'll get you. And again, if you're being nice about it.
So my hierarchy would be bride and groom. Again, pretty much we're talking weddings here. are going to get, and many times they might get it, if they're really excited and they're on the dance floor, it could be next, if it can fly at all, unless it's really, really a huge change that needs a segue or a transition. The dance floor person is obviously going to get next, and it would be a dance floor person who is being respected, or that's being a nice, decent person. If you're going to be rude and you're on my dance floor and you've been there all night, I don't care. It's probably going to maybe not get played. Very likely not going to get played unless it is a good song. And then, kids who are up there and having a good time and are involved and actually know a song that is a good song that is from them, where I usually will kind of try to work with the kids a little bit. And then there's times where you get kids who just are horrible with their requests. And it's like, no, I'm not playing Metallica tonight. Sorry. It's not going to happen. But yeah,
I'm wondering at what age he just pictured when he said kids and then threw the word Metallica.
I literally Saturday 8-year-old was like, "Can you play Enter Sandman?" No, son, I'm not going to be playing.
Okay, Enter Sandman. Okay, I see why.
Can you play? Was it Nothing Else Matters? I think that's another one of theirs, isn't it? But yeah, it was, and then there was one other that Never something or another. I think it was something. Anyway, when he starts out, can you play Metallica's? And it's like, yeah, no. As soon as I heard Metallica coming out, it's like, no. And he yeah. Those kids, don't you know? Okay, sounds good. Let's stop. My mouse is stuck. All right, let's jump to the next question here, guys.
Robert just give us a sad piece.
I don't know. Not sure what.
No, I don't think it was for what we said. I just think it was.
Oh, there might be something there.
I thought it was my fault. Whenever a girl's unhappy, it's my fault.
Sure.
Oh, it's the one that you got. Somebody was up there by it. If you had to change anything when you were starting out, if you could go back and change something from when you were starting out, what would that be?
My shoes.
I was really hoping you would have said your underwear, but okay.
Hey, it's family show. Don't say that the U word.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to talk about my emotions.
Mine's pretty simple. This is actually a serious answer, not a joke. I would either not become a DJ or I would only spin EDM because the top 40 stuff has absolutely ruined music for me to where I don't want to listen to anything. It just absolutely ruins it for me. So I would either not become a DJ or only spin the kind of music I love. So
interesting. And I wonder if that would have allowed you to create and be able to do your things that you love to do, and yet be able to finance your lifestyle.
Probably not. At least not here. You'd have to travel.
Yeah,
it would be a life of travel for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I normally don't like answering questions like that because, again, you go through things in life. It's way out of your control most of the time, life is, and you gain perspective, intelligence, wisdom, sympathy, empathy from things you go through that if you would have made your path, you wouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a lot in life that I think I wouldn't have had if I got the thing that was, the life that was in my mind.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the things I've been trying to focus on over the past about 6 months. There was a quote that says, what messes us up most is the picture in our mind that we think our life should be instead of looking at the life that we have. And that's what I've been trying to look at and go, I technically, because somebody asked me, it was on one of these question things. What would your younger you say about your career? I would have said I failed miserably. I failed at every step of the way.
Oh, sure.
I'm not on tour. I'm not doing EDM. I'm not doing anything. I've completely failed. But this completely failed person has a house and a car and a motorcycle and hangs out and gets to sit and be creative in the middle of the week for no reason whatsoever. And that's pretty darn special.
Sure.
So
I think there's also some validity. Like there's two ways to look at this. One is, are you doing now what you wanted to do then? And I think that's where you can kind of find yourself. Listen, I went through all these things. I grew. I'm a better person for what happened, and I have a way to look at my life in a different sense. And so I think exactly like what you're saying. Like I get all these positive things. That is, a failure to what my old me was, but it was a younger, more ignorant or naive, we'll put it,
unexperienced
person. Right. But I think in the same respect, like you can be in the position that you're at and say, for example, you're at where you're at now because of the things you went through.
Mm-hmm.
Could you have looked back at that starting you and said, listen, this is where you get to be me. This is where you're going to get to where you're going to be happy. Let's find a way to get to that sooner. I've already learned, like I've learned what I need to do to be happy. And so let's work on getting you to know it earlier so that I can be happy longer.
That would be a miracle of a thing that to look at that and say, go back even 10 years and change a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be significant.
Guys, you guys went.
What
deep.
about you, John? I want to go last on this one.
Yeah, well, you guys are going deep on this. I was thinking, I wish I would have started wearing earplugs sooner and protected my hearing. I mean, I've talked. We've obviously hit this topic before, but just recently, is there's been discussion about hearing, and actually, that's one of our questions down. Another question here, but I would have started wearing earplugs. Not only performing early on with some of the teen dances we did, but even to wear it mowing lawn and things would have been advantageous.
I have a significant difference between my right. I have really, really good hearing, but there is above average, but there's a significant difference between my right ear and my left ear from all the years of on the farm, shooting and plinking.
Yeah,
which I look at that and go, that is so interesting. There is just
a difference, yeah, and it's not. It's like the gun isn't that much farther from.
No, it's you'd think about, and I never shot that many. I mean, a few shotguns. I did a few deer hunting, but most of the time we were target practicing with the 22. That isn't that loud, but it's enough.
It was enough. Yeah. Well. All right, Dan, take this. Give us the in depth.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to go. I'm going to go that in depth. I just didn't feel like 1 second that time. So. It's one of those. It's one of those things where I would, Robbie Britton said to me one time, because he and I had never met when I used to live down. I was like 20 minutes from where he was at, and it was when I was just getting out of college and doing a bunch of different just odd jobs, trying to make a go of radio and failing miserably at trying to get it to go. And at that time, I never really considered being a full-time DJ. Because I didn't know anybody who did that.
Sure.
Like that was not even a vocabulary or a profession that I knew of at that point. And this was early 2000s. And it was probably not until 10 years later before I even found out about, the DJ Expo in Atlantic City. So there was all these years that I felt were missed opportunities. Now, I don't know if I would go back and tell my younger self to say, hey, you can make a career of this. But I think I would definitely say, hey, look at these other people that are, that you can have as actual mentors that are doing this as a career. So you know how to take it serious. You know how to charge accordingly. You know how to set the bar better and make myself a better all around entertainment company.
Sure.
Whether that's DJ and the business own, DJ side as well as the business side, and making that whole piece better, and not lost in 10 years. I mean, I have a friend of mine locally who, he's just about 10 years younger than I am. And I feel like he has such a jump start on where his career can go because of what he did and who he had reached out to, myself included, and a few others in our area, when he was like, I want to do this, and made a go of it. So that's what I would do. I would go back and at least introduce myself to these other people and get started. And if that led to full time, then that'd be a different story.
Sure.
But yeah. There you go.
Yeah, well, that's good. Very good. All right. Let's jump to our next question.
Oh, okay.
Okay, our next question, asking about DJ booths. They made the comment, of course, that DJ booths, if you're going to be buying a booth that's that has the screen and everything, those can be very expensive to get into. And somebody was asking if they should build their own. Again, they were talking about the rolling one with the screen, TV and such. They're trying to save some money and such. So, guys, what are your thoughts if somebody wants to build their own DJ booth?
My answer, legitimately, what I wrote down was about building a booth or buying one was wait till Dan forgets to secure it in the trailer again, and you should be able to get it for a good price.
So it rolls out the back of the trailer. Wait, come back.
I will have you know that I have created a checklist, and that one of those checklists is making sure both straps are tight and all the locks are on. So you're not getting it from me that way. See, and my response is, do you live near me or not?
That's a good thing.
But no, in all seriousness, so I would say this. While it frustrates me in some aspects, and I've mentioned this kind of before, where I felt like I was kind of I don't want to say innovative, but innovative in this area to have something like that, and now more and more are coming in with something like that. And at first, it initially kind of frustrated me, for lack of better terms, on how to deal with it. I realized that my system is not what sets me apart. Yes, it caught some eyes. Yes, I've used it to full advantage as much as I can, but it is not what sets me apart. Now, with that being said, looking for the boost, whether it's the screens or whether it's the podium styles or something like that, is a way to take your system and your setup to a different level. All right, there are a lot of different furnitures, DJ furnitures that are out there. So what you decide to use for yourself is what you feel like is going to get you the best look, and that's really what's key. Is it worth it? Absolutely. What I spent on my booth has made its return in pictures, in marketing. I don't know how many times I've had couples walk up to take a picture of what I put on my TV screen in front of that booth, and where's the laptop logo? Right above it.
Sure,
because that's where my laptop just happens to sit.
Product
so in
placement.
that picture. Exactly. What did they do? They got a picture of that, and they got a picture of my booth. It's an eye catcher. It works, and people like it. I also have a Danny Max one that I use when I don't use my rolling one, and it took a little bit, but I walked into it because I don't use it that often. But I used it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw a picture.
Walked into a venue, I set it up, and this was at a more posh vineyard winery type of place. And the woman that was she's not the owner, but she like runs it, kind of manager-ish. She was just like, oh my gosh. She's like, I love that. She's like, I've never seen anything that's not like that. Like everybody just brings in and sets up on our table. And I'm like, no, I don't need your table. She's like, that is awesome. And then she's all a cup holder. She's like, it's got a cup holder. Yeah, got to have somewhere to put my water.
Yeah.
But no, so I mean, like I said, they're eye-catching. But I would be cautious to do what everybody else is doing. If your idea is to improve what you got, go for it. If your idea is to improve what you got and look different, look what's around you, and then determine from there. And yeah, you could DIY it, but unless you're skilled in that set, don't buy it, pay someone to make it. Don't do it yourself unless, again, you're really skilled in that area.
Sure. Yeah, the DIY aspect, you did such a beautiful job on the other parts of it. I'm not going to bother talking there, but I think the DIY thing is that sometimes we forget that even though we have free time to do something like this, that time could be used to maybe generate more leads, or could be used for a variety of different things. And you really have to weigh out, is my time best to try to create things, even if you have the skills? But I mean, do I want to create this? Because if I build it out of, I've seen people try 2x4s, and that's going to be this heavy beast, and you're not going to want to. So you've got to weigh out your time and to build it the proper way compared to purchasing it and it's done and done correctly. And then you can take all those hours and the trying to find the materials and designing and all those things you would have done and putting that towards building your business. And I think that when you start weighing things out, many times it's just smarter to buy the Toadmatic booth or buy a Danny Mac's thing and then focus on how you can sell it or sell your services and stand out with the products that you've added to your show.
The other thing I would say is I would probably, like, I built mine, but I will also, as these guys attest, I did it when I really wasn't having gigs, right? I had gotten some fall gigs, and then I was going into winter where things were really shut down for any corporate thing. And so I used my winter time to build it. I would not build another one unless I had significant improvements to make over the designs that are out there.
Sure.
Like there were some things that I thought, I'm going to make it this deep and it's going to fit through the doors and and I don't need it to be 2 feet deep. I want it to be 33 inches so it fits. Not realizing that there's reasons why people were only going 2 feet wide is because if you go through a door and you've only got an inch on each side, you might ding it. Mm-hmm. So like things like that. So unless you have significant improvements to make over what's out there, take advantage of what's out there.
Excellent. Okay, let's go to our next question. So our next question is from someone who was going to be hired to work for another DJ company. So there's another company, they've got their own company, but they needed to work under that company. And if somebody comes up and asks for a business card, they were wondering, what should they do? Should they hand out their business card? Should they hand out the company's business card? Or should they hand out their card or write a phone number down and say, call, whatever? Wondering what people would recommend in that situation. MJ?
Okay, I'll take it.
Okay.
I was like waiting for MJ to talk, and he's like,
I got no comment written down on it because mine's always pretty simple. I'm a very honest person. So if I'm working for someone else, then that day I'm working for them.
Yep.
So that's just me. I can't be anybody but me. So
yeah, I would be very upfront and basically be like, hi, I'm Dan. I'm here with such and such company. And that's where it would stop. But I'd want them to know my name. So when they reached out to the company based upon that, I want that person to know it was me that they saw, right? If I'm assuming that, this person has at least themselves and probably one other person, if they're sending you out, that's probably something they do. And so I want them to know where that piece came from. They might turn it around and, if somebody called, well, he doesn't work for us and and they might be honest about who he is, like who I am rather. But in the same respect, I'm with MJ. I couldn't in good conscience be like, hey, here's my information. Mm-hmm. Because let's assume for a second, it never gets back to them. Right. I feel that's just a little underhanded, but in the same respect, it probably will get back to them in some form or fashion, especially if you do it often enough. And then is that person really going to want you to be under them ever again? Probably not.
Right? I had a situation where I was DJing at a place, filling in for two different things. One was a friend, one was a company here in the city. And both would say, hey, this night, one did one night, one did another night on the weekend. And they both went, hey, can you fill in this night for me? Can you fill in this night for me? And the management came up to me and said, we want you to take over this night totally. And I'm like, well, I'm here with, either this person or this company on these nights, And I said, the night you want me to come in is the night I'm with the company. They were stopping you there. We don't want the company. We don't want you here with the company. We want you. And I ended up going and telling the company owner what was happening. And he flipped out like an absolute ballistic, adolescent, crazy person. And I literally said to him, I said, when you're done yelling and if you want to talk to me, call me back. And I just kind of had to handle it that way because they did not want that company. And the other guy came to my back and he goes, listen, he's filling in for me half the time too. If they want him, then they want him. So it's being honest is the best you could do.
For sure.
I mean, we're talking 4 years later. They have called me every once in a while and said, hey, can you available for this? and I'm just not. I would guess 100% of the time, if I think about it, I legitimately wasn't available, but I just don't want to work with them again because of that. I came to them before I accepted anything and just made sure they knew what was going on, and it went south hard.
Sure.
I think right there you said it. That the key is you went and you let them know what was going on. You know, and that might even be the second piece to take would be, you know, if you do get approached by it, hey, just to give you a heads up, somebody came up, they asked about me. I gave them your information. I did let them know my name. I did not give them my company name. I did let them know my name. And you know what? I'd appreciate it if something comes of this that you keep me in mind. And maybe that's a kickback like we talked about earlier. Maybe that's a, hey, you know what? They wanted you. Let's work out something where you can come out under my company again. Maybe, you know, and figure out all the business details to that, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, that's being honest is the key. Being slimy is just not good.
Yeah, never a good situation. So moral compass is not for sale, how he says, and I think he's echoing, I think, the same thing we're all feeling on that one. So absolutely. Excellent. I think we're going to try to get one more in here. So let's bounce to our final question of the night.
Where's that at?
Okay, so the next question, our last question for tonight, is somebody was asking. They have a one room where they're going to need to start the cocktail time, but they're having to go do ceremony system at a different location. So they're wondering, how do I start? Because there's people who literally run. They sprint to their car after the ceremony's done, get in their car, and they squeal their tires, and then they're there like before anybody else. That happens up here, at least. Golf cart, whatever. So the question is how do you have music going there and when you're using your main computer, laptop, at a ceremony? Which, you know, many people only have one copy of Virtual DJ, and that's on their main computer, and they don't have two computers, to that, whatever. How would you recommend that be handled, guys?
Where was that question at? Towards the top, or?
It's down. It's right there. Somebody just was next to it. Yeah. But it's.
I underlined it.
All right, because I answered two questions on there exactly the same. One was about what do you use for music? The other one was about taking photographs. My answer is, in this day and age, if you don't have something that can play music in a separate area, I'm questioning that you shouldn't be doing this job. Because, again, I always tick people off when I say this. I'm not trying to tick you off, but literally any electronic device can do our job to a certain level. So if you just need music, even if it's put the music, the old phone there, playing songs off a list while you run and get that, come back and put it in the main thing. So you use it on the first part of the gig, use your laptop, have the other thing setting there to play music while you unhook and go back and then hook up your laptop. Anything, literally anything can play music nowadays. I have a backup phone that I keep for emergencies. I paid $60 for it. It plays music. You can wait till Amazon Prime Day and buy a Kindle that will play music for $35. What if you have a friend who is a technological person? Ask for one of their throwaway things, because their throwaway things are probably really good. I mean, I literally have in this studio 2 devices that I cannot throw away, but I never use them. One is a Chromebook, really good Chromebook. The other one is a really good Android tablet. I don't use either one of them. So if somebody were to come up and say, hey, I'll make you an offer for that, I need a second thing for that, chances are I take you up on it, because it's going to rot here. Or I'll step on it by accident because I move it here, move it there, prop it under this thing, So I think there's like anything in the world you can use with a little bit of setup to play that second part of the music. How would you guys are going to go about it a different way? I'm guessing by the way you're looking at me.
Go ahead, John.
So I've actually had this my last 4 weddings, because I've been doing ceremony and it's been off-site or at least outside. And I literally I want to keep. I've got my main computer that I set up because I have to buy a couple of songs. Weird, but that's just the way they've been. So the system, I've got the cell phone. It's got a Spotify playlist. It's Yacht Rock. It's got 3.5 hours of Yacht Rock playlist, and I played it numerous times. So it's a decent mix. I start that. It goes 3.5 hours. That's time enough for the ceremony to get done, and I can transfer back and forth. And then when I come walking into the venue, there is some music going. It's not too loud. I keep it fairly low, but it's there so that you're not walking into a dead room. And the staff is like, hey, it's kind of nice to have some music going during the while we're setting up. So there's a point where it's there, but not loud enough that they can't talk and do what they need to be doing when they're doing final setups and such. And it's gone over really, really well. This past weekend's wedding, it was doing its thing inside. It was raining, so I couldn't go set up. I just basically sat by the window watching it like a forlorn puppy. And the staff's back there, and they're kind of bebopping along. And a couple of times I heard him singing along to a couple of the yacht rock type songs. So it is a nice combination of using that little device to do its thing. That way, my main laptop was ready to go outside. And the second laptop, I do have a second one, but I don't bring it out because I have this fear that if I put it up and I have two laptops, that's the night that some person with their beer is going to go out there and say, hey, can you make a request? And then it just soaked both of my laptops, and I have lost both of them. So I've seen systems with all three laptops up. It looks great, but I've got this unusual fear of people dumping. If they dump a drink on my first laptop, I have laptop number 2. If I have a second controller, and these are both sitting in the truck if I need them. So, cell phone was doing what MJ said was exactly what I would do.
So I agree. First off, I'm going to say I agree. With MJ and John and the idea of having two. John, I will say I like your idea that I hadn't utilized before, which was just to have something super long that's just gives you that impression and just have that running the whole time. A lot of times what ends up happening is I have everything hooked up, but what happens is I'm playing that recessional song. I'll go back to the venue where the main reception setup is, press play for the cocktails, and then go back and then start tearing everything down. And it's a lot of back and forth where I could give myself a little bit more free time and not have to try and run ahead of the guests who got, dismissed first. So if you utilize that, I think it's a great idea. But I think it's also important to recognize that if for some reason you don't have the ability to have that second device, whether it's a phone, whether it's a tablet or something like that, first off, save the money from your next gig and then go get it. But in the meantime, there's not a terrible expectation, which is kind of sad, that the second somebody walks into that cocktail area, that there needs to be something playing. So if the only single device that you have is your main computer, and maybe it's because you've got to have your phone on you because you're getting an emergency call and you can't turn it on airplane mode, whatever. Then when you are done with said song, quickly disconnect it, get that up to the main area, hook it in, and start playing as quick as you can. And just recognize that you need to look for ways to enable to have more than one device. If at the very least, it's your backup. That's what I used to do. I used to carry 2 full laptops with me. One was my regular, one was my backup. My backup was what I used for all my ceremonies, and my regular is what I used for my receptions. And that's what I did until I got tired of lugging 2, at that point, heavy laptops.
Do you know of any DJs who do weddings that don't have a backup laptop? So let's not even the day of. I'm not talking about even necessarily that, but that if their computer went down on a Thursday, they wouldn't be able to do the wedding on the weekend. Do you think there's anybody out really?
Yeah, there are some. Yep, I know a couple of guys who have a laptop, and their backup is a Kindle, like a Kindle Fire. And if the laptop would go down on a Thursday, they either are buying one to put their external hard drive on, or whatever. And that's generally what their plan has been, is that they've got it set up that they could go to Office Depot, buy a laptop of any sort, and then they can install the main software, and then they got their hard drive, a couple of hard drives with all the music on it.
Right.
And I've seen posts of now. This one's not so much weddings. This is some more bar clientele, or bar DJs rather. But I've seen posts of like, "Hey, help me! Like my my MacBook's acting funny, and I don't know what happened, and as a result, I need to fix something for Saturday. Because I've got to play, and I've seen videos of other ones that are having a powwow session, trying to figure out or trying to fix what happened." Whether the issue is the computer or whether the issue was something else, it doesn't matter. There was an issue, and there was probably a moment of panic, especially if that had been a day or two later.
Sure.
I literally have 3 laptops ready to go at all times because it's my job. And if I'm hired as a professional to do my job, there shouldn't be anything that stops me from doing my job.
There are also, I think, a lot of people who view this as not their job, but as a thing that pays them money. And so as a result, they
what
don't
a job is.
I understand that, but I worded it slightly different to create the viewpoint that they don't treat it or follow it with the necessity and the importance that it deserves for what they do. And that means having a backup that is capable of actually being a real backup.
How many that I'm not even talking about a good backup. I'm talking like John said, go to Walmart, buy a cheap one, do the gig. Even have that as a backup, I think is important. Anything, a used one. I know guys that buy MacBooks from 2012 and use that as their backup. It barely does what it needs to do, but that's their...
The irony of that statement is we were looking at our laptops, and mine is a 2012 unit. I've never had problems with it hiccuping or anything to that effect, and Michael and I were looking, and he's got a 2016, and he was having problems with it about twice a night. It would freeze up on him, and he's like, well, what? Figured out it was a hard drive. The external hard drive was the problem, but it's like, I've been running this 2012 since I think I bought it in 13, something to that effect. It's been, and yeah, of course it's now a legacy product or whatever it is Apple says.
Right.
So when it dies, it gets recycled.
Yeah.
So.
I just want to take that time to encourage you all that even if it was like Dan said, it isn't the most important job for you. The peace of mind not to have that freak out, it's worth it. Even if you have to save up a year for it. Anything, just have that peace of mind because man, you have some father of the bride breathing down your neck,
Yeah.
or cousin Vinny. That's just, or Bubba. I don't know what your cousin's name is.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're from.
Where you're from. Depends where you're from. So.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's the peace of mind. And I think that's why I have 3, the peace of mind, just that I can just do my job and then worry about replacing it, fixing it later.
Yeah.
One of them I've showed you is that little Surface Book Pro. I bought it used, didn't cost much, is really not powerful, but push comes to shove, I can finish the night and then worry about the laptop at another point.
Exactly. And that's why the phone stays hooked up to the system. Yeah. And if I have to, I could perform from the cell phone while the other computer's getting
which I've seen guys even do that in the clubs where they'll just have their phone there and have when people, can I plug my phone in? No, but they'll have something set up for themselves in case that happens. They need to reboot the computer. They have a mix set there, so it just, these little things keep you peace of mind. So if you can.
Gentlemen, we need to wrap. It's almost Howie time. So,
okay.
Tomorrow night, we're not going to be doing a Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe tomorrow night. I've got some things going on tomorrow evening, so it's our last Tuesday of the month anyway. So we've had our other shows, and then we'll be back in October with the Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe show. So tomorrow night there will be a music and mixing show that will be going up at 9 o'clock Eastern. Then they'll be doing the recording at 10 o'clock Eastern at the Chill Room, DJNTV.com/chill. That's what's going to be going on next with Hanging with Howie. He's going to be talking health insurance and the full-time DJ and what you do when it comes to that. He's got some folks that we'll be talking with this evening. Then Wednesday night we've got the Hanging with Howie from a couple of weeks ago. That'll be streaming Wednesday night. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get the part 3 of the how do you price your DJ services up this week. I think we've got an editing the audio for some reason didn't come through properly, and it's like out of sync, and like it just started stretching. Yeah, Michael's like, I could fix it, or you could just redo it, and I think I'm going to just redo it. So anyway, that should be it for this week, and then, we'll be back to you next Monday night.
And we're into Rocktober.
Yeah, October's here already. Crazy.
And people can't wait for Speaker November.
Yes.
All right, so anyway, on that note, have yourself a wonderful, wonderful evening. If you hope you learned something, if not, hopefully you just laughed at us and called us crazy. We enjoy having you with us. Have yourself a great night. We'll see you next time.
Good night, everybody.